Hey everyone, we're back with another week of Find Your Film. We have three main movies this week for the podcast. Our first movie will be Stowaway. It comes out on Netflix, I believe, on Friday. It's a space movie that Bruce and I watched. Eric is almost finished with it. He's going to talk about Stowaway as well. We also have a romantic comedy or a comedy called Stowaway, not Stowaway, Together, starring Ed. What am I thinking of? I have Stowaway in the brain. Maybe it's Anna Kendrick. Maybe
Stowaway,
it's
stowaway.
Stowaway. It's with Anna Kendrick and everything like that. I'm thinking about Stowaway all the time. Maybe it's in the brain too much. But Together stars Ed Helms and another actress who I have to find right now, but she's, I believe, something Pattison or something.
Patty Harrison?
Patty Harrison. Patty Harrison. Thank you, Bruce Purkey. And then also we're going to wrap up the features, our main features, with this documentary that Eric Holmes picked to watch this week. It's called Bill Traylor, Chasing Ghosts. It's very interesting documentary that all three of us have watched. And Eric Holmes, you are Trigger Holmes right now. You are Trigger Holmes. This is a reference to a movie that we're going to be covering starring Mr. Barry Pepper. Trigger Holmes, Eric Holmes, what is your favorite Barry Pepper movie right off the top?
Wow, that's a good question. First of all, Trigger Holmes, maybe a double entendre. We'll see.
Okay. Oh,
Oh man, favorite Barry Pepper movie. I like the Coen Brothers remake of True Grit. He was pretty good in that.
Oh yes, great in that.
I know a lot of people hate Battlefield Earth, but I kind of liked it.
Okay. Yeah.
So
how many times have you seen Battlefield Earth, Eric Holmes, Trigger Holmes?
Probably like 4 or 5, I think.
Oh my goodness.
Battlefield Earth was a lot like Alien 3 to me. When I saw Alien 3, and I still love Alien 3 to this day. In fact, I think I like most movies that are the third in
Godfather
franchise.
3.
Yeah, when I saw Alien 3, I loved it, and then grew up, and then people were like, Alien 3 sucks. I'm like, what? When did this happen? And same kind of deal with Battlefield Earth. When I watched it, I'm like, this movie's pretty cool. And then I found out later that like a bunch of people hate it, and it's like one of the worst movies ever. I'm like, I did not see the same movie everyone else did.
I walked out of Battlefield Earth. There was a screening at Westwood, California, and I think I was either reviewing it or doing some kind of press junket for Battlefield Earth after watching the movie in a crowded house, this beautiful movie theater. I felt really manic depressive. That was just a miserable, abysmal experience. Battlefield Earth has to be one of my all-time worst movie-going viewing experience. Bruce Purkey, am I overreacting? And should I actually merge onto the side of Eric Holmes regarding just a rejig on the whole Battlefield Earth thing?
I came into it after it was already renowned as a terrible movie. So I kind of went into it with, okay, let's see if it's kind of fun anyway. So I think I'm kind of in it's sort of fun anyway. And just the overtopness of the Dutch angles and the acting, if you want to call it acting by some of Travolta and stuff. So I mean, I think it's enjoyable in a silly way.
Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't piss me off, you know.
Yeah. Would you recommend Battlefield Earth to anyone, to any initiate who really wants to see a Barry Pepper, John Travolta team up?
No. Barry Pepper for me, I would say you could go with let's see, what would mine be? Saving Private Ryan or Crawl.
Oh. Yes.
Crawl.
Crawl. No, but in fairness, True Grit overall is probably his best film because that's such a classic Western. Even though that's a remake, I love him in that one as well. And of course, Bruce Purkey knows that I am predictable. I don't say anything that's really off the cuff or interesting or spontaneous. So Bruce Purkey has actually seen in the future and knows that when we talk about favorite Barry Pepper movies, he absolutely knows that I'm going to mention The Painted Bird. So that's The Painted Bird is one of my favorite Barry Pepper movies. He plays a marksman in that film. So, and yeah, I forget, Eric Holmes, which side did you lean on towards The Painted Bird? More towards Bruce's side or more towards my side regarding The Painted Bird overall?
I believe I was dead center in the middle of both of you. Like you're not wrong that it's a masterpiece, and Bruce is not wrong that it's kind of it's definitely relenting. I don't know that it's a movie I could recommend to someone, but yeah.
Okay. Eric,
I'm like right down the middle.
can I put words in your mouth like I always usually
Go
do,
for it.
and I apologize for this.
You can put anything in my mouth that you want to.
Oh, okay, we're rated E, folks.
Oh, Trigger Holmes at it again.
Trigger Holmes. But can we? I guess from your vantage point, would you call The Painted Bird a quote unquote debased masterpiece?
I don't know what that means, but sure.
Right? The basement, it's just
what's a debased masterpiece?
Debased. It means it's just like the lowest common, just like very Bruce.
Basing it on a letter D and an A through E rating. Debased.
No, it's debased. It's just very. I don't know, Bruce. How would you say debased? It's just very. It's just disgusting. It's gross. It's lowest common denominator. It's just exploitative.
Well, that's the thing. It's exploitation in like art house clothes.
Yes. So you know what? If you want to actually listen to our reviews of The Painted Bird, The Painted Bird flies throughout several podcasts. I think one week I praised it, the next week Bruce, he tenanted it. He tenanted The Painted Bird. Basically Tenet is a turd. This was even a bigger turd for him, for Bruce Purkey. And then the following week, Eric Holmes followed up with his own take on The Painted Bird. But the reason why I talk about previous episodes, Bruce, can you tell our listeners about our last episode? What have you been spending your time lately, just interviewing people left and right?
Oh yeah, we did all we just released 3 interview compilation of filmmakers from the Oscar nominated short series, and we did Eric O from Opera, we did Elise Doyar and Anthony, I gotta remember,
Giacchino, yeah,
from Collettte, and we did Tomer Shushan from White Eye.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, listeners, if you're really into the Oscar shorts, Bruce Purkey has it covered for you. It's close to, I think about it's a 90-minute mini pod. It's broken down into 3 sections. I only listened to it once while I was editing it because I don't want to be reminded how much of a better interviewer Bruce Purkey is compared to me. Not very cool, Bruce. Thanks for stealing any kind of sunshine I had, but congratulations on doing a great job on the interviews. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're supposed to be quick. You're supposed to be Trigger Holmes, like very quick to the draw. Trigger Holmes. Let's just say one day out of the blue. Let's just say, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but let's just say one day, are you going to interview some of your heroes growing up? Do you think that'll happen? Do you think you can ever down the line meet any of your heroes and actually, as a prominent media member and critic, can you actually interview them, Eric Holmes?
Have you ever seen the SNL skit, the Chris Farley show? if that's what you're into, I will absolutely interview anyone you want me to that I love.
Did I tell you guys the story? How many times? Okay, before we get to our main reviews, you can tell me to shut up. But yeah, Bruce, you're supposed to go in right now. Shut up, Craig. But Chris Farley, the only time he did this, late Chris Farley, he came into, I believe, what's the movie he did with Spade? Was that Black Sheep? Is that the movie?
That was most of his movies.
Okay, so
Black Sheep and Tommy Boy were the 2 ones that most people know.
So either film, I forgot which one it was. I'm thinking it's Black Sheep. He came into the room, and it was at the Four Seasons Hotel. And before he says hi to us, he actually hits his head in the cabinet and does a whole pratfall, and he just pretends. And that I've interviewed people for 30 years. That's the only time it's ever happened like that. And you know what? When I was in my early 20s, I thought I was a little bit too cool for school, and I didn't laugh as hard as I should have. That's because I was a D-bag back then, probably. I'm calling myself out. Props to Chris Farley for just doing that for the press. I mean, don't you think that's a cool thing, Eric? What do you think?
A D-bag, like a dog bag, like a bag of cute dogs.
Thank you for defending my honor or my dishonor.
Debased bag? Is that
debased bag? Very good. Bruce Purkey, as always, tying things together. And also, before we do our main movie reviews, I'm really excited to see what Eric Holmes and Bruce Purkey have to say about the latest movie by Ben Wheatley called In the Earth. Because I believe Ben Wheatley, he did Free Fire, and he did a remake of Rebecca, which I feel like I might be one of the only people who really love that movie. But I know Bruce Purkey has been a huge fan of one of his previous movies called, what is it, The Kill List or The Hit List, something like that you really love, Bruce Purkey. So we're going to get to that as well on this episode. But first off, let us start with our featured review. And of course, we're closing our episode with Bruce Purkey's wonderful What's in the Box segment. But we're starting off with Stowaway. It's directed by Joe Penna. He's best known for his work in that really cool movie Arctic. Bruce, Eric, have you seen that movie Arctic at all? If so,
is that the one with
Mads Mikkelsen? No, I'm wrong. Am I right? Yeah, it's with Mads.
Yes.
Yeah, that one.
I did see. Did we cover Arctic?
No, we did not.
Probably should. But yeah, I did like Arctic quite a bit.
Yeah, so it's directed by Joe Penna, and I actually interviewed him back in 2018 for Arctic, and I remember him saying that Arctic, and I was excited because he had just signed on for Stowaway. He said this whole survival thing with Arctic and then Stowaway would be, I think if I recall, part of a trilogy. Arctic's obviously set in the Arctic with Mads. This time out with Stowaway, it's set in quote-unquote outer space with Anna Kendrick, Toni Collettte, a couple of other people. Bruce, Stowaway, were you excited about this? Were you a fan of Arctic, and were you excited about Stowaway going in?
I was curious about it. I like sci-fi, but I was a little trepidatious because it was Netflix sci-fi, which has kind of steered us wrong lately with what was the Midnight Sky?
The Midnight Sky, right.
And they did some Cloverfield thing, which was terrible. But I mean, they're just hosting it, so who knows? And I would say I was on board pretty well for the first two, for the first third or so of this, and then it slowly started getting off board on this one. I think it's okay. It's all right. It's middle of the road. I definitely would say, well, it's got great cast. It's got great actors in it, but I think it leans heavily on something that needs to be retired, and that is spacewalks seem to trigger dire events randomly in space. If you go out on a spacewalk, something's going to happen. So I guess there's no more spacewalks in movies. That's all I got to say.
Well, Eric Holmes, you were about an hour into Stowaway. So your initial thoughts so far going into this movie?
I love the setup of it so far. The whole idea that they find a stowaway, and I mean, you guys can tell me. You guys, well, I guess you probably can't because that would be spoilers. But I'm loving the setup that there's a guy stowawayed. Usually, the guy stowawayed on a ship is he's here to kill us, and he's and I mean it's kind of that it kind of gets there, but not really so far. The idea is when scientists and they get rockets ready to shoot up into space, they have everything down. They know exactly how much fuel for exactly how much weight and exactly how much supplies, and they have everything dialed down perfectly. So to have an extra person on there becomes a huge problem. And so I like that they're kind of playing with that idea. They haven't just aborted mission and turned around back to Earth yet, which is a little, I don't quite understand why that is the case, but maybe again, I'm only halfway through, so I don't even know why I'm starting to review this. I'll probably have to rewind this next week, but so far so good. I'm digging it, and I'm digging the story choices and the scientific choices they're making. Even though there's some things that happen that's kind of like I don't quite understand why they went that way, but maybe it'll pop up later in the movie.
Movie also co-stars Dae Kim from Lost as David Kim, and it also stars Shamier Anderson as Michael Adams. He is the aforementioned stowaway. Michael Adams is the person they find in the ship. He's not supposed to be there. I'm not going to tell you the circumstances regarding his situation, and also Anna Kendrick is Zoe Levinson. She is pretty much the medic, the doctor, the one who can really patch everyone together. So obviously she's helping patch Michael Adams, the stowaway, together throughout the movie a lot. And Toni Collettte is Marina. She's the head of the ship. And David Kim, again played by Dae Kim, he is the person who's been working for at least several years on helping provide life, sustainable life via those little plants he has in the ship. They're on a trip to Mars, to the idea of hopefully to one day have Mars be their second home. I really enjoyed this movie. And I think Bruce, you're talking about the spacewalk. One of the things that this movie, can't really get too much into it, but one of these things this movie does regarding Stowaway, it has that trope of there is a foreign object, person, situation, whether it's an alien or an interloper, whatever goes into the ship, you think it's going to be one thing and it could have unfolded in a certain way. The great thing about Stowaway is it takes this huge trope and it completely goes past that. And I thought it was very, very well done regarding this. And regarding the spacewalk, I understand. I think a lot of people will be turned off by the gradual spacewalk. And I thought it was necessary regarding. I thought it was great. I thought the spacewalk worked. I thought Anna Kendrick was excellent in this movie because she's mismatched. She's miscast. Her character is a miscast kind of character. When we start in the movie, they're actually lift off and everything's turbulent, and she is still wide-eyed because she's so excited to be in this big mission to colonize Mars and everything like that. So she plays that really mismatched kind of character and wide-eyed character very, very well. She is the heart and soul of Stowaway. And I love the ending. The ending is very well done. Again, a lot of people will probably head over to Bruce's camp where you said it's okay. I see this movie, especially if you love characters or want a different taste in sci-fi, at least. I would recommend Stowaway. Definitely recommend Stowaway. Bruce, final thoughts on Stowaway?
Yeah, I would agree. I like all the stuff that Eric is talking about. I really like, and I actually don't mind the long spacewalk itself. I guess here's my problems. I don't want a bunch of exposition, but there are a couple of key things that are just not explained. Like we need to understand how he stowed away on that ship. We need to know why and how that happened clearly. Like it's kind of just told us slightly. We need to know why they can't just turn around. They just kind of mention briefly why that is, but I don't understand the mechanics of that. Because the idea is it's a 2-year trip and they're supposed to come back. So they have to have a way to come back. So we need to know that. And not to say what happens, but the way things go down during the spacewalk, I thought was not a Deus Ex Machina exactly, but it worked kind of like a Deus Ex Machina. Like I wanted it to really be earned, and it didn't feel earned. It felt like a cheap way to make happen what happened. So I just felt all the way around it just kept cutting corners on things where it was really smart and other things, and it could have stayed smart and it didn't. So
okay, cool. Stowaway. So Stowaway, no recommend, yes recommend, slight recommend. Bruce? Slight recommend, and for me, Stowaway is a strong recommend. Eric Holmes, you were musing about your thinking. What are you thinking?
Because Bruce, I didn't know that they didn't explain that they couldn't turn around. So now I'm starting to think, it was like, well, how would he turn around? Normally you would have to slow down and maybe use but when the guy woke up, I don't think they were past the moon yet. So they could have slowed down and used the moon's gravity to maybe turn around. I don't know. I'm getting.
Yeah, I mean, the
I'm getting kind of space nerdy about it, but at the same time, it's not. Spaceships aren't exactly like a car where you can just turn it around and turn the wheel. I guess there's a little more to it, but like with as deep as they've gotten so far with some of the stuff, it would be kind of cool for them to kind of explain, like let the audience understand how you would turn a spaceship around.
Well, they're so clear on the stakes on things like the air and all that stuff, right? That they should be just as clear on the return trip and what would require and all that. You know what I mean? Like all the stakes need to be super clear. You know
I wonder if it's like a Martian situation where at the beginning of the Martian, there's that windstorm that blows everything over, but in Mars there's no atmosphere, so that would never happen. But you just kind of got to let it go because. I wonder if maybe that thing's like, look, he's on the ship and we can't turn around. There you go. Just let that go, and the rest of it's just going to be the space thriller that it is.
I'll just say
I think
this,
you'll enjoy it more if you can do that.
I'll just say this: the Midnight Sky. Bruce was saying that he wasn't a fan of the Midnight Sky. I was mixed on that movie as well. The Midnight Sky, you think it's going to be one thing, right? About survival, in a sense, it is, but it ends up being a little bit something more. The Midnight Sky.
It's almost like Arctic and Stowaway in one movie.
right. And Stowaway, it'll be interesting to see how you feel about this movie once you wrap it up. Because if you're expecting one thing regarding the science fiction tropes and everything like that, or twists and turns, or just really huge special effects, there's going to be people who will be disappointed by Stowaway. But if you're looking for character drama, arc, just a little bit of resonance regarding the theme and what it's about, I think there will be some people who will support Stowaway. So it'll be interesting to see what the general consensus of Stowaway is when it comes out on Netflix. So that is Stowaway. And now let's see what is next. We have Together. Bruce, I've been talking too much. You want to talk about
Sure.
Together? All I can say about this is before you get into your thing, I'm really nervous. I'm nervous about what you think of this movie because I'm very, very high on Together.
So basic concept of Together is you've got Matt, played by Ed Helms, and he is a very unusual situation. He's becoming a single dad via surrogate, which is kind of your unique setup for this. And then the surrogate, Anna, played by Patty Harrison, if I wrote it down correctly, hopefully. I can't always read my own writing. She is a lot younger. She's like, he's what, about 50 or so.
He's like in his mid 40s. He's 45 and she's around 25, 26.
Yeah. So, and this is a kind of comedic kind of a deal.
Hi, have you decided?
Yeah. Could I get the free-range chicken pesto thing?
And would you like fried potato or salad?
Potato. Salad. And potatoes, please.
And for you?
Carbonara.
Well, I'm a lot less nervous after the...
You know what? I'm sorry. I just was worried when you ordered the potatoes because what you eat, they eat.
You ordered pasta with bacon.
Yeah, but I'm the only one eating it.
But I only matter for like the next 9 months or so, and you matter for the next 18 plus years. You're like 40 something, so yeah, if I were you, I would not be eating pasta with bacon.
That's a really good point, actually. So why didn't you make a weird sound when I ordered it?
Because I am not annoying, and I'm pro-choice.
She, of course, is, total different age, generation, and basically it's kind of from the beginning to the end of the pregnancy. That's kind of the span of the movie and kind of how they navigate this unusual situation. I started out pretty eye-rolly on this movie. First of all, Ed Helms at the beginning, I thought was one of the creepiest people I've ever met. And I thought she would immediately cut this off if possible because of the way he was acting. And
he was annoying. His character is very annoying in the beginning.
Well, he was crossing serious boundaries, showing up at her door and as she's walking out with another guy and asking her if she had sex and saying that was inappropriate and stuff like that.
Wait, why is that not appropriate? Because she's carrying... Oh, I'm sorry. Oops, I'm sorry. She's having a baby, man.
Out of the gate, I was just like, what world is this? This is almost an alien planet. This doesn't relate to 99.9% of people in the universe. They don't have any sort of connection to this setup. And I kept wondering, what are the boundaries? What are the rules? Is he allowed to just basically be part of her life for 9 months? Because it doesn't seem like there was any rules. But all that being said, it won me over. It won me over in the second and third act. And kind of like we talked about the last one, kind of forgiving some of that thing. I kind of just forgave it and said, this is the situation, but look at these two characters. And I ended up loving the characters, and especially Patty Harrison's character.
Wow. Yeah.
She is by far the star of this movie. And there's a lot of funny situations and awkward situations and stuff, but there's a moment probably about the middle of the movie, and Greg will know it, where she starts talking about her feelings about her family, and she starts getting into her family dynamic and where she is and how she feels about her current situation and how it will be dealt with by her family. And it's such a human moment, and she has such an interesting mix of kind of this ironic, younger, bold person who doesn't want to take any of his old man shit, and some just super realistic, heartfelt, actual character traits. And by the end of this movie, I loved it a ton. I loved it a ton.
Yeah, you were sort of surprised. I mean, when I was praising it, you're probably saying, "Oh, okay, this is going to be one of these sappy, saccharine films." It feels like that, right?
It does. The score doesn't do it any favors, and I have to say, the score, it starts out as this piano score, and it's really light, and it almost is almost like a stereotypical romantic comedy score,
Yeah.
But by the
Yeah.
end, I didn't care. I loved everything about it. You know?
You even love the score. I love the score.
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay. So that's good.
Because I loved the character so much by the end. I mean, I just loved them so much. And the fact that the way it ended, and we're not going to talk about how it ends,
I
but
was
the
gonna ask you that.
but the way their relationship plays out is surprising and not
Yeah.
stereotypical and really lovely, and just you love them. You want to see more. And that's the test of something movie like this. It's not overly long. It's like 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But when you have a movie like this, you should feel at the end like, I want to spend more time with these people on either end of this movie. And that's how I feel about this movie. I would love to spend more time with them, you know.
The last shot of the movie was their final, I believe it was one of their final, literally their final shot, I believe, the production. And we're not going to get into the final shot, but I wanted to ask you, Bruce, regarding, were you pleased the fact that it didn't cater to the lowest common denominator regarding the final moments?
Yes, and I don't think it catered to the lowest common denominator for the whole final half of the movie, because there's a certain way that you think this is going to go, and they address it by the way that interactions they have. I can't even say it because it'll tell you something.
You're expecting to eat the chocolate, right? Because it's nice and sweet at the end. You're expecting the chocolate, and it's high calories, but the fact that they don't give you the nice dessert at the end without giving too much away, I think it's a really well done ending, very, very poetic and very subtle. For me, my review, I wanted to ask you about this movie. It's because I echoed really your sentiments, because Ed Helms' character Matt is so annoying and so overbearing, and
he's such an asshole at the beginning. You're like, why the fuck?
He's a total a-hole at the beginning. And Anna's so funny. She has this dry wit, like she doesn't give an F about anything, but she handles everything. She works at a coffee shop, everything. And that guy, like her coworker in the coffee shop, is Julio Torres as Jules, Jules is very funny. Tignataro also plays I believe their therapist or whatnot, and some very, very great. And Nora Dunn is the mother of Ed Helms. So go ahead, Bruce.
I was gonna say, what's really interesting too is that this literally follows the romantic comedy playbook in beats. Like if you look at the beats of this movie, they're exactly the beats you expect. And it just goes to show you can hit the beats, but it's what you put in those beats that makes it unique. Like it's doing unique stuff in each section. And that's what's really great.
Do you think Eric Holmes would have liked this movie? What do you think?
I mean, it's not his genre per se. I think he'll at least like it. And I think he'll definitely like Patty Harrison's character of Anna. Anna, this is a star-making turn for her. She's hard not to like, because that combination of being vulnerable but also not taking any shit and calling him consistently. There's a conversation about Woody Allen in this movie that's hilarious. It's so good. So good.
As a lifelong Woody Allen fan, I was very uncomfortable during that whole truthful discussion on Woody Allen. Very hard to look in the mirror after that conversation. Also, I personally related to the main character. One of the main characters, Matt, played by Ed Helms, mid-40s. And I've never seen this character. It's a dude who's going through a midlife crisis, but his midlife crisis is he just wants to be a dad. How many movies do we have that are about that? And it's not about hooking up with a different someone who's younger or all that stuff. He just wants to be a father. And as helping raise my 5-year-old niece, actually 4.5-year-old niece, I could relate to his struggles and his passion for actually having children in Together. It's a very well-rounded male character, even though Bruce and I really wanted to point out how annoying he is. Thankfully, his character becomes a little bit more rounded out by the ending. So that is Together, and that is, I believe, let me look here. It is available in theaters nationwide, April 23rd. Bruce, is that a strong recommend for you on Together?
Yep.
Yes, strong recommend. You know what? I think I put on my letterbox. I gave it 5 stars. It's a 5-star film for me. And one of my main, and I told this because I interviewed the writer-director, Nicole Beckwith. I think one of my main frustrations on a weekly basis is I won't be able to see this movie more often because of the movies that we have to see over and over. We have to see so many movies. I don't have time to really rewatch Together. But this is a rewatch film for me. Again, in theaters, April 23rd, and it's available on digital May 11th. Together, starring Ed Helms, Patty Harrison, written and directed by Nicole Beckwith. Okay, so that is that. Bruce, I'm so glad you like that movie. My goodness. I was so worried that you were gonna like do the long spacewalk on it and give it the painted bird medallion of dishonor. So I'm so glad that that's a good thing for you. We're moving on to Eric Holmes. You actually wanted to see Bill Traylor Chasing Ghosts, and here it says the summary is the revealing documentary about the pioneering art sensation who was born in slavery, whose works became an art sensation. FYI, this movie opens Friday, April 16th in New York and Los Angeles. Eric Holmes, take it away on this documentary.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the only reason I picked this is because it was called Chasing Ghosts. I'm like, I guess that sounds cool. So we'll go with that. I had no idea what this was going to be. This felt like I forget the name of it. They did a documentary on Wesley Willis. If you know who he is, you can Google Wesley Willis, but he's a musician. He's passed away now. But his art style was very simple, which is Bill Traylor's, but it's simple, but it has like a kind of some weight to it. And I'm wondering how much of that, we talked about Gunda, like how much weight the art has versus how much you put into it, because his art style is very simplistic. Like literally a 3-year-old could do what he does, but and maybe I'm putting too much into it or giving him too much credit, but he seems to kind of take in what he sees in the world and then puts it out in his art form, which is like the very simplest version of that. I do like his artwork, is as simple as it is. And I like I don't know if it's a spoiler, but the end where they his family kind of starts to come together. It is real sweet speaking of family coming together, they're playing the screaming game in the background.
No worries. Chasing screams.
Maybe maybe in the 20, 30 years after I'm dead, all my nieces and nephews will stand around my grave trying to unearth my grave and just start screaming, this is how Eric remembered us.
Well, if that happens 20 to 30 years from now, I hope they're downloading our podcast so we continue to get more views and downloads after our passing, our respective passing. Downloads from the grave, man. Come on. Right?
So the only reason I bring up the end with the thing, my aunt, I never met her. In fact, she's my mom's sister, and I don't believe my mom ever met her because she died. My mom was the youngest one on that side of the family. And my Aunt May died pretty young, like in her teens, like from pneumonia or something like that. And my mom and my aunts, a couple of my aunts and uncles went and looked for a grave because she had an unmarked grave. And so there's, my mom would tell me that story about her. And then I was alive when they were looking for an unmarked grave. I didn't go with them. And so that part where Bill Traylor had an unmarked grave and they're trying to find it, and then they had the unveiling of the new gravestone they put there, that kind of hit home a little bit. And there was some really sweet parts, especially with the family kind of looking back on hey, that was my granddad, that was my dad, that was looking back on their family member fondly, and what they meant to him was nice. As far as a documentary, like the added value, I don't know that there's too much there. Like we did a bunch of we watched a bunch of documentary shorts. I think this probably would have been better off as like a half-hour documentary short. I don't know that it fully earns the feature-length documentary that it is, but what's there, I do appreciate a lot of it. Don't know that's a full recommend, but there's definitely some good stuff to be had in there.
This one for me was a full recommend. He died in 1949. I'm looking on Wikipedia. 1853 to 1949. You see an artist who spends his life mainly, like they said in the documentary, a 60-mile radius of Montgomery, Alabama. And I like those old archive photos where you see him setting up shop in different stores, and he had this little desk or whatnot, Bruce, and he's just sketching the whole day. Yeah. If he wasn't farming, I guess in his salad days, he was a sharecropper farmer. He sired a lot of kids. Okay, but mainly his passion, it would seem from this documentary, is being an artist. And like Eric was saying, the artwork might be rudimentary, but it's effective. your eyes train to the works of Bill Traylor. So I believe this is a definite value added documentary, and for its length of 75 minutes, you get to see a man's life. Even though with him passing, it's not like he's documented in tons of podcasts. He passed away in 1949, so there isn't any audio recordings of him speaking. So you actually have to fill up a lot of time with just the atmosphere via writings of the day and music of the day and photos of the day. And I think overall they do a pretty good job, bang up job of painting a picture of who Bill Traylor was regarding chasing ghosts. It's just the only thing is you don't really get to delve into his soul and his mind and everything like that. But with what they had to work with, it was an interesting enough documentary for me to learn about this artist whose work I'm looking at the poster right now, and I could look at that for a long. I'm not an expert like you, Eric or Bruce, but I love looking at his stuff. So there are some moments when you just have to shake your head regarding the legacy of his artwork and how no matter what, whether you're moving homes or whatever, hopefully there are good people to shepherd your work from generation to generation, because we just have to, Eric was talking about spoilers, we just have to imagine the hundreds of not paintings, but just sketches, artwork that Traylor lost, not due to his own hand, but due to the hands of family members or time and weather. Bruce, Purkey, your thoughts on Bill Traylor? Chasing Ghosts, by the way, it's directed by Jeffrey Wolf.
Yeah, I'm kind of right on board, right between you two. I'm kind of like with Eric as far as actual documentary format. It's a little by the numbers, but for documentary information, I really appreciated a lot of the stuff it showed me and told me. And I definitely got a few little shades of Elise Guy Blaché in there too. The idea of this, time and place and art from a certain time and place that is on the verge of just being absolutely lost. And that kind of speaks to what you're talking about, Greg, the idea that like a bunch of his stuff did get thrown out and they have some of it, but it's only just kind of by happenstance. And everything he drew and painted was like on the backs of posters and like,
Right.
he talked about how he just used like pieces of cardboard, or he just used some advertisement and just draw on it, or if it had like staple marks, he would just use the staple marks as part of the picture. The artwork itself was pretty interesting. Some of the history was really interesting to follow somebody who went from actually being a slave to, early mid 20th century and kind of seeing how that life went. But I agree also that it would have been much elevated if we could have had either like his own diaries or at least an interview or two from his actual
Sure.
mouth, to be able to hear his point of view on it. Like, how did he consider the art? What was he trying to do with the art? So we're kind of left, like you said, with a lot of this interpretive stuff, which may or may not really tell us the whole story. But all that being said, especially if you're not familiar with it at all, I would say it's a recommend. I mean, you get a lot from it, I think, and it's not long, so you can watch it in a sitting pretty easily. So especially if you don't have much history on what it was like in the slave life and post-slave life, it really does some interesting stuff there too. So,
and my knowledge of African American artists is basically, other than Romare Bearden, I believe, basically 0%. So for me, it was very good as far as an educational value. And I do wish, to both your points, I do wish there was just more stuff to unearth regarding Bill Traylor. But maybe Chasing Ghosts, they're we're trying to paint. We're literally chasing Bill Traylor, his spirit. Eric.
I wanted to throw out, if anyone saw Dreams with Sharp Teeth, that was the documentary about Harlan Ellison. I love Harlan Ellison, but watching Dreams with Sharp Teeth, like I enjoy it because I already know who he is. And so I just like watching stuff with him, and anything involving Harlan Ellison, I'll eat up. But I don't know that Dreams with Sharp Teeth will pull other people that don't already know Harlan Ellison or don't already love him. I don't know that Dreams with Sharp Teeth would pull you into his world. I guess where I kind of fall back on this one is I get that, like, if you're already a fan of Bill Traylor, then this would be like, oh yeah, this is pretty good. But if you don't know who he is, or you're not already a fan, as I didn't know who he was before this, it didn't do, like, I didn't feel like I didn't leave that documentary feeling like I knew who he was. Like
Yeah.
Bruce brought up the Elise Guy Blaché. No idea who she was before I watched Be Natural, but I watched it and I fell in love with Elise Guy Blaché. I wanted that with the Bill Traylor. I wanted to watch this documentary, and I got a little bit of that, and I definitely got that his family had reverence for him, but I didn't come away from it knowing who the man was, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's like a puzzle that you have to put together. That said, I mean, at the end, they had this exhibit at the Smithsonian. I had no idea who Bill Traylor was. I was thinking, wow, if I lived near the area, I'd go out and I'd definitely check out the exhibit. I would love to see his work in person. So that is Bruce Purkey. Any final thoughts regarding Bill Traylor Chasing Ghosts?
No,
So,
I recommend. I'd say recommend it. Yep.
Recommended from you, Eric? Recommend or slight recommend? No recommend? No.
As a documentary, no. As I mean, he seems like someone that we should probably know about. So in that aspect, yes, to recommend. I'm just saying, meet your expectations.
Okay, and for me, Bill Traylor Chasing Ghosts, it's a recommend for the value. As a documentary, 75-minute documentary, they did their best as far as piecing together a life that really isn't recorded in audio or filmed. I really loved how they filled in some of those gaps and were trying to actually chase that ghost being Bill Traylor. I recommend it on both fronts. So again, it opens Friday, April 16th in theaters at New York's Film Forum and in Los Angeles here at the Lamley NoHo 7. And it's also available in virtual theaters across the U.S. through Kino Marquee, and we'll have all of that information on our podcast notes. We're done with our main features. We're going to a rewind with Bruce Purkey and Eric Holmes, In the Earth. I did not receive a screening link for this. You guys did receive a screening list. I requested for the screening link, and they said, sure, we'll send it to you. Bruce and Eric got it. Story of my life. Guys, did I miss anything? Eric, why don't you start off with In the Earth, what it's about, your thoughts, were you excited, Ben Wheatley, all that stuff.
Okay, what's this about? That's a very good question. I might have to defer to Bruce on I guess these two people go to this area. This is definitely a post-COVID movie. I got that right off the bat. They go in and people are wearing the masks. And the reason they're wearing the mask it's definitely not because of COVID, it's because of something else. But they go through this stuff, then it becomes kind of a David Koresh situation, and then it kind of turns into The Happening. Bruce, you're gonna have to help me out here.
Before Bruce helps you out, let me just help both you guys out, because I look back at the email that I sent to the publicist for In the Earth, and I said, Hi, Bleep. I'm not going to mention the person's name. Can you send screening links to Bruce and Eric? I forgot to include myself in the sentence, and that is why this idiot here has been complaining about In the Earth screening links, because I didn't request one for myself. Bruce Purkey, save Eric's review on In the Earth.
Okay.
He has a lot of thoughts. What are your thoughts? The Happening. That's a classic movie, by the way, so I'm excited what you have to say about this.
Okay, so In the Earth. So it starts with this guy, was it played by Joel Fry? Martin, I think is his name.
Martin Lowry.
Yeah. So he shows up to this country area, and there's kind of like an outpost there, and they have you check you in and make sure that you're not infected or whatever. You're not sure. They're just making sure that you're good to go in there. And basically the idea, I think, this is a very hard one to describe. I think that he's sent out there to meet up with a former research scientist that he worked with, and she has been out of touch with them for a while. So in a way, it's almost like Apocalypse Now in that kind of way. It's sort of weird. She's out there somewhere. She's been doing research. They haven't heard from her for a while. They want to have someone go out and check on her, and he wants to go out there too. He joins up with a ranger who works there named Alma, played by Alora Torchia. She's, to me, the star of this movie. She's the best thing in this movie, I think. If you might know her, she played a small character in Midsommar. She didn't make it very far in that movie. And they go off into the woods. And at the beginning, I was pretty on board. Mysterious, weird woods. Something's going on. We're not sure what's going on. Pretty quickly, they meet up with a person in the woods, and we're not going to give all the stuff away. And I got even more interested in what was happening with that guy, because it was really weird. And the whole situation became more intense. And at one point, I sent to Eric, I said, this movie should be called Foot Trauma, the movie, because a lot of foot trauma occurs in the mid portion of the movie.
And you're not wrong.
But then that middle portion where they meet up with that character, I slowly started falling more and more off board. And then when we met the third person or another person out in the woods, it got so nonsensical to me, and it became so exposition heavy and became like almost like a mad scientist movie. But it also wanted to be really artsy and trippy instead of just embracing the ridiculousness and becoming a full B movie, which I think is what it should have done. So by the end of it, I was kind of off board on this one. And if you ever seen his other movie, Wheatley's other movie, A Field in England, if you liked A Field in England, you'd probably like this. If you didn't like A Field in England, you probably won't like this, because that's about people in like the Middle Ages running around in a field and getting like stoned out of their minds on hallucinogens, basically. So yeah,
this was this definitely had like elements of Annihilation to it, where and probably closer to Annihilation was handled like The Happening did.
Yes.
This is kind of where it was. And then it's I don't want to sound like I'm completely shitting on this, because there's some really good stuff in this. I think, Bruce, you're right. Like, if they would have went the B movie route on this, either A, went the B movie route and just made this a fun, weird horror movie, or maybe took I think they have ideas in this, not ideas like thematic ideas, but like ideas with how the world works, but they didn't fully grasp on and figure out how that world works. Like, they don't need to tell the audience, but I don't feel that the writers know how the world works. I think they just keep throwing in weird shit. And then, but the thing is, if the writer understands a world, even though we don't know, things kind of like, even if they don't make sense, it's like, okay, I kind of get it, and you just kind of let it go. There was a little disconnect with this one, and I can't quite put my finger on it. There's just some parts that work really good, and then there's other parts where I'm like, I don't know what the hell you guys are thinking. And then there's other parts where I'm like, now I'm just confused.
This feels like a movie for me that, like, for 40 minutes into it, they were writing a script and they kind of had an idea where it was going. And then at about that point in the script writing process, they just took a shitload of acid and mushrooms and just wrote the rest of the script and went, okay, film it. That's
what I did wrong. You know what? I'm going to watch this movie again, but I'm going to do shrooms first, because that might be the key. That might be the thing I'm missing.
So In the Earth, from both of you, totally a not recommend. Am I assuming this?
It kind of is a recommend, though.
Kind of. So Eric, so you recommend it even with the?
Yeah, because it's weird, because it's definitely, I don't know.
It's gonna have an audience for sure. It's gonna have a cult audience. This is, and like I said, if you know his other movies, if you like A Field in England, if you like really kind of druggy, trippy, nonsensical movies that are really odd, this might get you. So I would say, if that kind of sounds interesting to you, give it a try. If you want a movie that's coherent, that makes sense, and has a consistent tone, probably not for you.
But so was it for you? Was it for you, Bruce?
No, I fell off board about 45-minute mark, and it didn't ever get me back. And I kept thinking it was going to get me back, and it kept driving me further away. And by the last 20 minutes, I was like, no, this is terrible.
You know, I think the biggest problem with this movie is the male character, not the actor. The actor was fine, but just the choices the male character makes. Many times I wanted to reach in the screen and choke him, go, the fuck are you doing? Figure it the fuck out, dude.
Didn't you feel like Alma, the character of Alma, she should have been the star of this movie, and she kind of ended up becoming the star in the movie, but she should have just been the star of the movie throughout.
Yeah. And, like when it's like if a movie like focuses on the damsel in distress, it's like, that's not interesting. That's why we follow the hero. But like the guy trips over the thing and sees the thing, dead body. He sees a dead body, but he's like, dude's like shooting arrows at Alma, and he's like, what? A dead body? Yeah. The psycho that had you hold up for about a week. Oh, go figure. Dead body. Big surprise. Let's figure out what the fuck's going on.
Whereas she's like resourceful and smart and thinking about things and trying to come up with plans. Yeah,
but he's like, well, how could a dead body possibly be here? Maybe because you're dealing with the same fucking psycho you've dealt with for a couple days now.
Oh, and can we mention the big stone with the circle in it? I have no idea what the fuck that was, and that was there the whole time.
Actually, that stone looked pretty cool. I was wondering if that was a real thing. It's weird because there's stuff about this movie I fucking hate, and then there's other stuff that's like pretty sweet. So I'd say this is a recommend only because look, we're just dudes talking about a movie we saw. Like that, this is the very definition of a movie. Just watch it for yourself, and then you'll know.
Oh
But by
gosh.
then-
Well,
but by
I'll tell
then-
you right now, In the
by
Earth has
then-
27%.
Too late.
27%.
27% regarding the audience score. So Eric is on the fence regarding In the Earth. He's saying check it out, and if you hate it, it's on you.
your fault.
And, yeah, it's your fault for watching 100-minute
Wash
movie.
my hands of it.
And we watch. Yeah, you go. So I don't know if that's a ringing endorsement, but he's that's it. That's like he's basically playing a Greg Srivasti. He's actually riding the fence on this one. But
It's interesting.
okay.
It's completely interesting.
It's completely
What
I think
happens when
that's
you
fair.
ride the hand? You know what happens when you ride the fence, though.
Is there a punchline, Bruce, or is that just a rhetorical thing?
Go ride a fence and see how you feel afterwards. I'm just saying.
That's that. I got another story about my cousin.
regarding fences.
Trigger warning.
It-
Trigger.
He fell off. I think he fell off a ladder and landed
Oh,
ass first on a fence, and bad things happen.
Enough
wow.
Yeah.
I will never use that phrase ever again. A lot of nightmarish images, probably scarier than In the Earth, are being popped into my head right now. Hey, Eric, was this a scary movie? Did it grip you? Were there sequences that you just said, "Wow, is that why?" Probably, in all fairness, you're kind of saying, I recommend
No.
because there are stretches that really gripped you.
Well,
At
it
least.
definitely didn't scare me, but there's scenes that like I don't know, Jay. It's just got those flashes of brilliance where it's like, wow, that's a cool
Okay.
idea, or wow, that's a really cool part, or that's a cool scene, or that's there's like little nuggets of joy in this and nuggets of gold, but
Okay.
then like between those gold, there's like little pockets of turds like laying around. So
Eric Holmes.
but that's why it's a recommend, because it's
Amidst the fecal matter, you'll find gold.
look, if
Yeah.
you're gonna hey, if you saw a pile of shit but there were a bunch of gold nuggets in there, would you not reach in and try to grab the gold nuggets?
I'm all about the digital crypto, so I'm not touching.
If there was a bunch of gold in digital crypto inside
possibly
of Twitter, would you not reach into Twitter?
Possibly, if it has the right algorithm and coding and everything like that, it's good. I'll touch. Would you touch with the? Would you?
Bad touch. No,
Bad touch. So that is In the Earth. That is currently, as we
Stop.
speak, right.
Bad touch.
Stop. In the Earth, directed and penned by Ben Wheatley, very interesting filmmaker. That said, it is now out in theaters. In the Earth, it's labeled a horror, mystery, and thriller. The critics gave it 76%. Again, the audience score is a measly 27%.
Wow.
But like Eric Holmes said, it's
Huh.
it's up to you. It's up to you guys. Tell us what you think of In the Earth. If you disagree with Bruce, or maybe you might want to help bolster Eric Holmes' opinion. He said there's some really interesting things to glean from In the Earth. That said, okay, so that's fair enough. Now, Bruce Purkey, you've had a packed week. I was gonna say something like you're in beast mode. You're a total beast. Little inside, not inside baseball. I wanted to actually I was trying to tell Bruce Purkey, hey, Bruce, don't worry about a recommendation. You're covering all of these movies this week. You got the box. He was passionate at bringing this movie to your listening ears, folks. So definitely check out this recommendation from Bruce Purkey. Take it away, sir.
The Day of the Beast from 1995, directed by Alex de la Iglesia. This movie is great. I have seen this poster forever. It's kind of this poster, this like red and black, very bold poster with this kind of, I don't know, silhouette of a demon. And I always assumed it was just kind of an Italian or Spanish like Omen ripoff, and it is nothing like that. This movie is so good. It's so funny. It's amazing production value. Way bigger movie than I thought it was going to be. Basic concept is this. Starts out, younger priest goes into a church, meets an older priest. Older priest says, are you here to make a confession? He goes like, well, I haven't done anything yet, but I'm about to sin a ton. So I need you to tell you about this. And he basically is not only a priest, but he's like a religious scholar. And he says he's decoded Revelations. And what it is actually a date, the date of the coming of the Antichrist. And it's going to be Christmas night. And he has to sin a ton to get in contact with the devil so he can find out where the Antichrist will be born. It cuts, a giant cross falls on the old priest, kills him. Young priest goes into the title sequence. During the title sequence, young priest, our hero, Kura, played by Alec Angulo, he pushes mimes down stairwells. He is leaning over a man who's about to die after a car wreck, and instead of giving him last rites, he tells him to burn in hell.
Oh my! Is this a comedy? Is this a
Yes. This is the opening title sequence.
By the way, first of all, why do you have more of a really wonderful, energetic glee about you with this movie as opposed to something like Together Together? Bruce, is this
I
the
love
perfect movie?
Together. I said I loved it.
I
This
know.
movie has got so much going for it. And then he he like steals from a homeless guy and all this kind of stuff. And then he goes to the local heavy metal record shop with a list of metal that's supposed to be really evil. He says he wants to find the most evil music to be able to, get in touch with the devil. And that's kind of the touch off of this movie. And it ends up becoming one of those one crazy night kind of movies, but it's also like a buddy comedy action horror movie because he teams up with the metal dude and he also teams up with this TV psychic. It doesn't pull the punches. There's blood, there's craziness, there's demonism. There's all kinds of crazy stuff around this movie too. I guess that at the time they were making it, because they used actual demonic ceremonies, like they kept them pretty true to their word.
Ooh.
So some of the demonic people around there were going to threatening to kill them. This is just, and it's a big movie. It's big. It's not this little tiny. It's got great production values, like just giant set pieces. I love this movie so much. It is so much fun, and
because of the comedy, because of the action execution, because of the storytelling.
Yeah, this is like one of those movies that kind of veers almost into Evil Dead territory, where it has this really weird mix of almost slapstick comedy, almost screwball comedy, but also isn't afraid to be like tough when it needs to be tough. It's got a really cool and interesting story, and it's just a rollicking adventure as well because of all the things that has to happen. I love this movie. It's so fun.
Shudder.
You can get it on Shudder. You can get it on Canopy. You can get it on Tubi. It looks really great. They have a new transfer of it. And I'm definitely going to be looking into more stuff from this director. He was supposed to make, I guess, Alien Resurrection after this, but he didn't end up making that.
Oh my goodness. That's a story right there.
Yeah,
why did he not do it?
Yeah, this guy's been tied up, and like some of the actors in here ended up in a bunch of movies, like I want to say like Pan's Labyrinth and a bunch of the what's his name's movies.
Guillermo del Toro's.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro's movies. It went on my brain, but I want to look up some of his other movies. He's got one called Perdita Durango, which has been compared to kind of almost a Tarantino-like movie that has like Rosie Perez in it. I mean, from around the same time. So this guy is like crazy. Really interesting filmmaker. I liked it a lot. I think that most people in our group, if they've never heard of this movie, give it a try. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it.
Perdita Durango. Have you seen that?
I think the setup of hold on, guys. I gotta send like a whole bunch. It's just a perfect setup for a movie.
Well, and I'm not going to tell you, he does a bunch of stuff. There's at one point where a person dies and he's sorry because he didn't do it intentionally. He's like,
wow.
Oh
yeah.
God. This sounds like the greatest movie ever made.
I know.
It's
and
pretty
look,
damn good. I guarantee you will like this movie. You will like it. If you may not, you may love it. I actually love it. This movie is fucking great.
well, and Perdita Durango, again, like you said, Bruce Purkey, directed by Alex de la Iglesia, stars Rosie Perez and Javier Bardem.
Yeah.
Holy
And
moly.
it's from like about the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, in 1997, and the Day of the Beast is 1995, I believe. So that is the Day of the Beast, available, like you said, on Canopy, Shudder, a bunch of other streaming services. What a poster! I think Bruce Purkey's eyeing that poster. He might actually, once he scrapes a couple of nickels together, he might buy that poster and adorn it in his respective wall. So that is a great poster, by the way. My goodness.
Yeah.
So says the Catholic, me being the Catholic. That's I don't know, maybe I'm verging to something. I don't know. Demonic stuff.
This
Yeah.
movie is a ton of fun. I
My
can't even
goodness.
describe how much fun this movie is.
The Day of the Beast. Well, I guess you're going to be watching that, Eric Holmes, very soon, huh? The Day of the Beast.
Oh yeah. I gotta, but before I watch it, just letting you know, I'm gonna have to do a bunch of sinning before I watch it.
a lot of sinning before the movie. Wow. Okay, now we started the show off with a little bit of a Barry Pepper talk. Okay, Trigger Point. It goes currently in theaters, but most importantly, it's on demand this Friday. This Friday being when? April 23rd. Okay, on demand this Friday. Confiore, who Bruce Purkey and Eric Holmes, they know pretty well because they recently recommended this movie called Sugar Daddy. He stars in Trigger Point as well. Anyways, it centers on a former U.S. operative played by Barry Pepper. He lives in a small town and he has a nice little spread out in the middle of, I guess, maybe the forest or the wilderness, and it's highly secure. He doesn't let anyone in. He's just very paranoid. The reason why he's paranoid is because, yes, he was part of probably some kind of mission that went sideways, and it's something that still haunts him. His former colleague, played by Confiore, tracks him down in this small town, and he tells Barry Pepper's character, "Hey, you know what? Let's go find this person who's actually killed the rest of our crew." So essentially, it's Barry Pepper, that operative, going on a mission to find who did this to him, who turned his life upside down, and who killed his fellow colleagues and agents, operatives. That's the whole premise of Trigger Point, and it's directed by Brad Turner, who I recently interviewed. Brad Turner is really known for directing a whole bunch of episodes of 24. In my opinion, if you like 24, if you like that TV series, this movie is a very low budget, scaled down version that its main highlights is Barry Pepper and Confiore. If you like them or are invested in them as actors, I recommend Trigger Point.
How'd you find me?
Big Brother's always watching, Nicholas. The agency's been scanning since you went deep. There was a hit. I intercepted it to protect you, as your friend.
My friend.
I'm the only one who came over to your side after what happened. I'm still on your side. Most of your friends want you dead more than your enemies. Monica's missing.
You're Monica?
Yeah. She's hell-bent on finding out who's behind the assassinations. She always adored you, Nicholas. She feels the same way I do about this. She wants to know who's behind it. I warned her how dangerous it was. She's very skilled. She doesn't have the same experience we do. She got too close, and he took her.
Who?
Quentin.
The reason why I recommend Trigger Point is I look at Rotten Tomatoes, 22%, 9 reviews by the critics. A lot of them are just cooler than The Room. I wanted to see this movie because of Barry Pepper. I enjoyed it. 83 minutes. Nothing. It's not as deep as a Bill Traylor painting or something or sketch, or you're not going to be thinking about it on a metaphysical or philosophical level. It's just a fun movie to watch. I hope they do more Trigger Points. Eric Holmes, counter me on this. What did you think of Trigger Point?
Well, first of all, the director also did 10 episodes, which is half of the episodes of the series Cobra, starring Michael Dudikoff. And the director's got like 109 director credits. So he's been at the game for a while. And
by the way, you should have done the interview with Brad Turner. You would have asked better questions than I did. That Michael, you would have. I know you. You know what? In fact, you would have asked that Michael Dudikoff question. I know.
I absolutely would have. But
yeah.
I'm better off feeding the questions to you guys because it would have turned out like, remember when you directed Cobra? That was awesome.
That's awesome. Fair enough, man.
I mentioned to you off there that because so Barry Pepper's in like this small town America, and he's got a past, you know. In this case, we know what the past is, but it's a similar setup to A History of Violence. And I mentioned a delicious cheeseburger version of A History of Violence. And quite honestly, this is a movie that I'm glad I saw when I did. because with the Oscar shorts and a lot of the movies, this is a lot of the movies are watching now. This is kind of award season, so a lot of the movies that have been coming out lately have been sad bastard movies. And this is absolutely not a sad bastard movie. This is a fun fucking movie. And I'm like, oh, just put it right in my veins. Oh, Barry Pepper's in it, even better. I didn't know it till you said that's the guy from Sugar Daddy.
Yeah, Confiore. Yeah.
I didn't even notice that while watching it. And then once you said that, I'm like, holy shit, is that the same guy? And so that guy alone is 2 for 2 for me because I love Sugar Daddy and I love this one. I don't know that everyone will be as high on it as you and I are.
Yes,
but
100%.
But dude, just go in this movie. It's the plot is kind of ridiculous. Like the twist at the end where they're like revealed what actually happened. None of that matters. What matters is that Barry Pepper's a badass. There's that other lady that's kind of, she thinks that Barry Pepper's a bad guy, but they're kind of on the same team, but kind of not. Like I like her. I like the bad guy. Like this is what's the word? Hard boiled, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Hard boiled.
Yeah,
it's like one of those paperback novels that you get in the store, and you just it has like a really cool cover, and you just 100 pages, and you just rifle through it.
Yeah, this movie's a perfect cheeseburger. It's not. I mean, it's not going to win Oscars, but I don't give a fuck. I fucking love this movie. It's so fun.
I'm so glad you liked it.
It just came at a perfect time. And I'm like, this is just perfect. And then when I looked up the director and saw that he did the episodes of Cobra, I'm like, now I get why I love this so much. Totally makes sense. But if you can get into movies like Sho Kosugi movies or Scott Adkin movies or Michael Dudikoff movies, this is like an elevated version of that. Not much elevated, but a little elevated more than those. And it, I mean, again, the director has 109 credits, and it totally shows here because you can see that like all the director choices are kind of the correct ones for what he's doing here. And also he's kind of like one of those jobbers that like the directing doesn't get in the way. It's just this is a story we're telling, and we're going to do it as perfect as possible. And I don't know, this is just a great version of this. And I think you mentioned in your interview not to give away the ending, and I won't give away the ending.
Oh, right.
But I do want to see a trigger points.
Yeah, I want to see more trigger too. I want to see more trigger points. Yeah.
Yeah. This also has kind of a Jack Reacher vibe to where like I could watch the further adventures of Detective Pepper Trigger Point and see where it goes from here.
I'm so glad. Yeah.
But yeah, this isn't going to win awards, but it's definitely a fun movie, and I absolutely want to see sequels of this.
Yeah, I really hope if they get to a sequel on this, that they expand the universe a little bit more. That's not a knock on this movie. It is, like Eric Holmes said, it's a cheeseburger. You just scarf it down. It's very good. And Eric Holmes was talking about the Oscar shorts. As much as all of us love Oscar shorts and Oscar seasons, I'm not as smart as Bruce Purkey. I couldn't do those interviews because my brain, after watching all those movies, they hurt with so much quality. They were just so good. They were so good for me, and I loved them all, but I didn't have the intellect to do it. So that's why something like Trigger Point is very good to digest as well, Eric Holmes.
Well, it's like they say with candy. You can't only eat candy. You got to throw in some vegetables, but sometimes you got to knock it off on the vegetables. I mean, you get some candy in there too. It's about balance. You can't go all one side or the other. Sometimes you got to mix it up.
Very good. Okay, so mix it up. So, and I also, listeners, I just want you to say Bruce Purkey was interested in watching Trigger Point, but I made sure that I held that trigger right there. I told Bruce Purkey, please do not see Trigger Point. You have to see 10, 15 movies this week. So, and I knew Trigger Point would definitely, hopefully, I was guessing that would be up Eric Holmes' alley, and thank goodness it is. We both, solid recommend for both of us, Eric Holmes, correct? Solid recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. Unless you hate fun and action, then stay far away from it. If you like, if there's a movie that's like really fun and kind of has a lot of action to it, like it's not 4 hours, so you're not going to get all the character development that you would in Justice League. But This one's really good regardless.
Oh wow. Okay. So yeah, and before we get to Bruce's what's in the box, or maybe you might have I think you might have a recommendation first, Eric. With Cobra, Michael Dudikoff. Am I missing out on not watching that series?
It's been a long time. It's kind of cheesy, but I liked it. But you don't want to come to me with a recommend or not recommend on Michael Dudikoff, because if Michael Dudikoff was in I don't know. Yeah, I'll watch anything with Michael Dudikoff. Like Quicksand, not a great movie. And I believe that one was directed by Sam Furstenberg as well.
Yeah.
Could be wrong. Pretty sure it was. But he's the guy that directed Revenge of the Ninja, Enter the Ninja. And I love that movie. Most people wouldn't. But yeah, I'm not the guy to go to. If you're a fan of Michael Dudikoff, yes, watch Cobra. If you don't care, maybe you like it, maybe you won't. But I'm way too biased towards Michael Dudikoff to make that kind of call.
Bruce Purkey, deep down inside, how badly do you think Eric Holmes wants to do a spotlight on Sho Kosugi or Michael Dudikoff on our show? How badly do you think he wants that?
Why not? I don't see why not.
Okay.
We did Joe Dante. I mean, we can do artsy, we can do fun. Why not?
Or in the case of Sho Kosugi, we can do artsy and fun.
Oh, very good. Artsy and Sho Kosugi. We love our Sho Kosugi. Okay, before we get into Bruce Purkey's What's in the Box, Eric Holmes, do you have any recommendation or maybe a tease coming up regarding?
I do. I'm not sure which one you're talking about, unless you're talking about this one.
Oh, yes, RAIN.
I will be sending this to Bruce really soon. I did get to watch it, and I want to hold off on the full review until after Bruce seen it, and then after you've seen it. Okay, so it's going to be a while, but
it's Rain. It's called Rain.
Yeah, it's from the director of Sunshine Cleaning, and if you can find it, give it a watch.
How were you able to find it again? Did you order it from Entertain Mart, or did you just find it on Amazon or something? How did you do that?
I believe I ordered this from Amazon.
Okay.
I did look through. I did look at it through Entertain Mart, and they did. The Rain is not an easy one to find. So I think once Bruce watches it, once you watch it, this might be our next this might be our next DVD chain mail thing, because this is not this one was really tough to find.
Okay, yeah, and also this is a little bit of a plug. If you want to actually check out our website, my website deepestdream.com, and eventually there's another website that I got to get off the crypto addiction. It's a good addiction. It's a financial thing. But once I get off that, there's this whole other project, the whole thing about the archives that we've been working on. I have hours and hours of stuff with all of us talking about films. Once it's opened, the whole Pandora's box of just cinema is right there for you guys on findyourscene.com. That has to be a reality very, very soon. But if you use our links via our podcast show notes, purchase movies or rent movies via our show notes, tell us thank you and tell us what you actually rent or checked out via our links, and maybe we'll see those movies as well. Give us your recommendations. Thank you for your support. Bruce Purkey, we're in the What's in the Box segment now, where he actually randomly picks movies that people actually recommend for him to see. This week, what's the movie that you are covering?
I am covering The Kid with a Bike from 2011. This was suggested by Matt Stillman, and it is directed by Luc and Jean-Pierre Dardenne, the Dardenne brothers.
The Dardenne brothers. By the way, it seems we're doing this in a weekly thing. Matt Stillman is part of our Cinematics Facebook group. I love the guy. I also secretly hate and envy him, because every single morning I wake up to a movie recommendation of a movie that he watched that I wish I had watched. So he is like a million miles ahead of me as far as movies watched this year. He will get to 500 movies, which I've been trying to get to, and I don't know if I'll ever get to it ever in my life. Maybe that's a faraway goal. But yeah, we love you, Matt Stillman. Thank you so much for your recommendation. Kid with a Bike, 2011.
Yes.
Bruce Purkey.
2011. You can get it on Criterion Channel, or you can rent it. I rented it on Amazon. Various places. You can rent all the usual places. This is a pretty simple concept. It starts out with a little kid. He's probably about 9 or 10, named Cyril, played by Thomas Doré. And it starts out with him, and he's trying to call his dad. He's been in this youth, it's like a youth home, or it's kind of like a cross between a orphanage and a troubled youth facility kind of a place. It's pretty open though. It's not like enclosed. He's trying to call his dad, and the guy keeps telling him that works there, your dad is gone. He's not going to pick up the phone. It's just, there's nothing on the line. The line is disconnected. Basically, his dad had dropped him off and said, I'll be back in a month. And he didn't return. And the kid doesn't want to believe it. He immediately starts running out of the place and trying to get to the apartment where they used to live. He tries a couple times, keeps getting pulled back. Eventually he does get there. He keeps talking about his bike too, because his bike was there. And he finally gets back to the facility and he's running around in there and it's empty. His dad's gone. They tell him that he sold his bike. He doesn't believe it. He says, no, someone stole it. He wouldn't have sold my bike and all this kind of stuff. Through a variety of early situations in this movie, he encounters a woman named Samantha, played by Cecile de France, and she is in High Tension, the original, if you recognize her. And she kind of takes him in part-time. She kind of sees this kid that's really like struggling because obviously he's been abandoned by his dad. He doesn't really want to face that and believe it. And he's also kind of starting to act out. And she says, well, I'll take him on weekends. He stays at the boys' place on weekdays. And he does get his bike back. She buys it back for him. And the rest of the movie is a really cool, interesting, very non-sentimental, very realistic verite style of kind of drama character piece with these two, with some really interesting character turns. And it's about 90 minutes, I think, long, not very long, really streamlined, really focused, just really, really solid. There's a great scene early on where she says she locates his dad. So they take a day trip out to go visit his dad. And the way that goes down is both realistic, a little bit heartbreaking, and the way the kid reacts is really interesting. And this is one of those movies that kind of strikes you, like the early third of something like, was it Moonlight? Is it Moonlight?
Yeah.
Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Moonlight.
Yeah. Kind of where you have that really realistic view of a kid in a troubled situation trying to cope with something that's kind of beyond his ability. And this movie really does a great job of that. The kid in this is really strong, and she's really strong. Samantha is played by Cecile. And it's just not predictable. It's not boring. There's a lot of him riding the bike and running from people or after people. He's really tough, but not tough, It's a really, really good movie.
Did it make you the little lump in your throat sometimes of the movie?
Pardon me, I was coughing a little bit there. Yeah, there's a couple moments. Definitely some moments with his dad that are pretty rough. Just the way his dad, it's very, if you've had any kind of issues with your father or your mother or parenting at all in your life, this will be a little rough, because not only the kind of the cowardly nature of his dad with even being able to be straightforward with his kid, but just seeing the kid have to kind of face that. And then the way he responds to it, it's really good. It's a really good movie.
I am totally depressed after that review. That is such a sad effing movie.
But it's not a sad movie. It really isn't. Yeah. I mean, it's got moments, but this isn't one of those movies that's just like a straight up downer. It's much more energetic than that. And it's more of kind of trying to watch this kid get through that situation, to the other side. And just having this pure person that's just there kind of out of the blue to be there for him is once again, I talk about Moonlight, kind of the way that Mahershala character was in that movie, just kind of came out of nowhere and was there for him. I think this movie will kind of strike those same tones for some people. It's really good. I haven't seen, I don't think, anything by the Dardenne brothers, and if this is kind of the style they do, I really like it. It's a really grounded, character-based stuff, but not oppressive. It's bright filmmaking. It's good. It's really good.
Sounds like a Francois Truffaut, The 400 Blows-ish kind of movie. Coming of age, that kind of stuff. Tragedy.
A little bit, but it's not. Yeah, it's a little more matter of fact. It's not, like I said, it's not oppressive. Even though it sounds like it could be, it really isn't. It's frustrating at times, but it's not. This was not like a difficult watch. Like I didn't have to force my way through it. You know what I'm saying?
Are you excited to see more movies by the Dardenne brothers after watching? Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. That's The Kid with a Bike, the Dardenne brothers, suggested by Matt Stillman. Again, thank you, Matt Stillman, for that recommendation for Bruce Purkey's weekly What's in the Box segment. Bruce, you got something? You got to shake. What's in the box? Uh-oh.
Okay, that's a very into Jamie Gum, man.
Very Jamie.
I turn my headphones cord into a bass.
Very, very interesting. Yes.
I was hoping this would pop up because this is one I should have seen a million years ago and I never saw. This is suggested by our longtime friend, Andrew Martin.
Oh, we love Andrew Martin. Hope you are doing well. Andrew Martin from Andrew Watches Movies.
He says it's over, but we don't believe him.
We don't believe you, Andrew. Andrew, we don't believe you.
It's
Andrew
only on hiatus. Even if it's only on hiatus indefinitely, it's only on hiatus.
Yes.
Andrew Watches Movies never says die.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
Goonies.
We love that Andrew Watches Movies podcast. More importantly, we love him.
So he suggested the 1963 movie Charade.
Oh.
Which
Charade.
I have never seen. Have you guys
I have
both
never
seen
seen this as well. You know, Andrew's, look, no disrespect to Eric Holmes, Anderson Cowan, or Bruce Purkey, or even myself, but Andrew Martin has some really interesting, just out of the box suggestions. It doesn't verge to a genre. It's like, it's one of these things where you're going to know what I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick a sappy romantic comedy or a De Palma film. And then you guys love a certain genre, but Andrew Martin Anderson loves all that in your face stuff. Andrew from Cinematics, Andrew Martin from Andrew Watches Movies pretty much runs the gamut. Very, very interesting selections. I would never have thought that Charade would be a recommendation for What's in the Box. If you want to actually recommend movies for Bruce Purkey to watch regarding What's in the Box, how can they reach you, Bruce Purkey?
Easiest is just to hit me up on Facebook, either comment to me or just message me. You can also just write me at brucepurkey@gmail.com. Very simple.
brucepurkey@gmail.com. And then Eric Holmes, how can the listeners to the podcast reach you, sir? Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to say?
If you're listening to this or if you're watching this on YouTube, just yell at the screen and I will hear you. Okay. Yes, Mark, I will do that. Thank you.
Okay. That is very good. Eric
hold
Holmes.
on. Amy, say that again. Okay, yeah. There's 3 of them, but you can have one. It's cool. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Very good, Eric Holmes. That is it. We are done. Anything you guys want to say before we wrap up? I don't think there's anything else to plug. Where we had a director spotlight, but I'm doing cinematics with Anderson this week because he's doing other things. So we had to smash this together. The bottom line is we're going to be doing a spotlight on this director named Jacques Van Dormiel, and Eric Holmes and Bruce Purkey were nice enough to actually purchase copies of this little hard to get movie called Toto the Hero on Blu-ray. Bruce Purkey, where's your Blu-ray? Is it coming yet? Oh, you have it. Oh, not yet.
In the mail.
It's in the mail. He's eating Toto the Hero. You're gonna see it soon. Well, it's good that we're not doing it this weekend because it'll eventually get to you. That's another movie that's hard to get, Eric Holmes. Toto the Hero. It's one of my all-time favorite films. And then we're also going to be covering Mr. Nobody on our Jacques Van Dormiel director spotlight. Yes, sir. Close us out, Eric Holmes.
And not exactly a plug, but so we got Rain, and I'm sure Toto the Hero wouldn't be a good one to do a DVD chainmail. Maybe we should just start. Email me at hamslime@gmail.com, and we'll just start keeping a list. And that'll enter you into anytime we do the Entertainment, but also I'll just pick a random thing and a random name. So anytime we do the DVD chainmails, we'll just send that to you as well. And
all right, that's a good idea.
And then we'll just have a master list for everything, so you don't have to keep signing up for this or doing that. It's the one master list. If you're on that master list, you're in for all of it.
Well, here's the thing. Eric Holmes has been spotlighting the giveaways throughout most of the run of Find Your Film. Okay, so again, Entertainment. He does these $25 giveaways. $25 gift cards, right? $25 gift card giveaways.
They were $20, but
20, my bad.
I think we might bump it up to 24 because there has been the people that have won. There's been a
shipping
when
thing,
you mail thing, shipping charge. Thank you.
Shipping charges. That's all right. No, you're not.
Hank, yeah, I know I'm dumb. I know we've discussed this, but sorry, Hank.
Well, so I'm dumb too. That's why we both love Trigger Point. Listeners, get thee to a nunnery and watch Trigger Point. But anyways, you're saying Entertainment.
How dare you? Trigger Point is not a dumb movie.
You're right. How dare me? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
We fell off the rails. Usually we fall off the rails much earlier than that.
But yeah, you know what? Eric Holmes, he does his Entertainment giveaways. gift card giveaways, and then also the DVD chain mails. Yes,
so
Eric Holmes.
that's what I was saying. So with the gift cards, there's the shipping costs, which is usually about $4. So instead of the ones going forward, it'll probably be about 25.
Cool.
So
cool.
that'll kind of counteract the shipping charge. And then I guess if you live in Colorado Springs and you just go to Entertain Mart, then you get an extra $5. So good for you.
Good for you. Yeah, it pays listeners when you're buying your physical media or any entertainment collectibles via Entertain Mart. It pays to live in Colorado Springs, especially for that $25 gift card. And again, if you want to be entered into this evergreen Eric Holmes DVD, Blu-ray chain mail thing that he's doing.
I've been calling it DVD chain mail, but we got to come up with a good name for it because it doesn't pop.
Okay,
there's a great name out there, and we don't know it yet.
Bruce Purkey, can you get on this? You're the smarter out of among all three of us. Can you get this in your noggin and just marinate, meditate on it? We'll give you a week because you're going to come up with something really wonderful and sublime. That said, Bruce Purkey, we're going to end this week of Find Your Film with your wise thoughts on anything.
Don't fall off the rails, or you might land on the fence.
There you go. That final comment just hurt me in many more ways than one. Folks, we will see you next week. I am doing a big ouchie, and Eric Holmes, he's in pain as well. And of course, Bruce Purkey, him, the lover of demonic films like what is it, The Beast or something? What is it called? Bruce?
Day of the Beast.
The Day of the Beast. You know, there's only one of us who's smiling amidst all the pain. All right, guys, we will see you next week on Find Your Film. Bye-bye.